President Trump is weighing in on a political battle being fought among Republicans on Capitol Hill that has huge implications for the Trump agenda. In a post on social media, Trump endorsed a plan being pursued by House Speaker Mike Johnson to include Trump's top priorities into one all-encompassing bill. It comes as the Senate is pushing a two-bill approach, first addressing the southern border, national defense, and energy policy, while putting off legislation extending tax cuts. Joining us to discuss this and much more, Mychael Schnell, congressional reporter here at The Hill. Okay, so Michael, Trump's been kind of staying out of this battle between House and Senate Republicans. Now he comes out in support of the House plan, kneecapping Senate Republicans just as they're set to begin voting. Puts Senate Majority Leader John Thune in a pretty tough spot here. What's the Senate going to do?
Yeah, that's the big question now, Drew. So the Senate Republicans had advanced their budget resolution last night. And then the expectation was the way this would work is the Senate would have up to 50 hours to debate the legislation. And then they'd enter what's called a vote-a-rama, which is essentially an unlimited time period where senators can bring up amendments and vote on those amendments. Now, these are typically used by Democrats or by the minority party, rather, in this case, Democrats, to try to protest the legislation at hand. So the expectation was that Democrats would bring up a number of amendments to get Republicans on the record on a variety of controversial issues. For example, cuts to social safety net programs like Medicaid. But now with Trump's endorsement making very clear that he wants to have the House's plan and not the Senate plan crafted by Lindsey Graham, the big question is the Senate going to go ahead with this debate and then vote-a-rama, or are they going to stop in their tracks? That is right now the question that I presume John Thune and his leadership team are discussing, and all us reporters are waiting to hear the answer to.
Yeah, discussing, I assume, with Vice President Vance, who they're supposed to be having lunch with today. Any intel on what's on the agenda for that meeting or what's been said so far?
No, not yet. Look, a lot of senators had said they were caught by surprise by Trump's Truth Social post, John Thune even saying that himself. So I think that they're first going to try to understand where the president is coming from and then try to understand if they should move along with their process or just, again, stopping in its tracks. Like I mentioned, a lot of this caught a lot of folks by surprise. So I suspect they're just going to be talking about the key details and the thought process and then the best way to move forward.
Okay, so let's say the one big beautiful bill strategy is the game in town here. Can Speaker Johnson keep his conference together and deliver that bill? And what dynamics are at play among House Republicans?
Yeah, look, that's the key question right now. For Senate Republicans, I've been reporting over the past few days that there is considerable concern among particularly moderate Republicans about the budget resolution laid out by Republicans on the Budget Committee. Not to get too into the weeds, but essentially it orders the Energy and Commerce Committee to find at least $880 billion in cuts, a very large number. That's the largest number that any of the committees were given by the Budget Committee. Now, the Energy and Commerce Committee has Medicaid under its jurisdiction. So the understanding and expectation here is the only way to hit $880 billion, again, a staggering figure, is to make significant slashes to Medicaid. Now, that fact and that possibility is what's causing a lot of concerns among moderate Republicans, particularly those who have large percentages of constituents who are beneficiaries of Medicaid. And remember, Drew, when we're talking about the current House Republican Conference, they can only afford to lose one vote on any of these party line measures. I'm assuming that all Democrats vote no, and all members are in the chamber present and voting, which means that even a small cohort of moderates who are concerned about potential Medicaid cuts could be detrimental. So Johnson is going to have a lot of conversations in the lead up to next week when he plans to put this budget resolution on the floor. But I suspect that Trump's endorsement today increased that urgency.
Yeah, considering all that, do you think the Senate bill could actually serve a purpose here as a backstop if Johnson fails?
It could. It could be a backup plan, and Senate Republicans may move ahead with it, arguing that it's a backup plan. It could also sort of light a fire under under House Republicans. Sometimes on Capitol Hill, things get stagnant and things don't move very quickly because there's a very long runway for time of when things can get done. But oftentimes, if the House is struggling with something and they see that the Senate is getting ahead with a contrasting idea, the House will get its ducks in a line. In fact, we saw that last week with just passing the budget resolution out of committee. So it's possible that the Senate moving here could be strategic. But again, this all has to come within the context of Trump very clearly saying he wants the Senate plan and he wants the House plan and not the Senate plan.
And Michael, Democrats have very little power here other than the ability to drag out votes, which is exactly what they plan on doing. Let's take a listen to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
We will have late nights here on the floor exposing Republicans' hypocrisy on health care, on national security, on job creation, on inflation, and most of all, on where their main focus is, their North Star, tax breaks for their billionaire buddies.
Is there any scenario here where Democrats would cross the aisle?
No. The short answer is no, Drew. Democrats are pretty strongly opposed to the vast majority of tenets that they plan to put into this reconciliation package. And remember, Republicans are planning to use the budget reconciliation process because they want to be able to circumvent that Senate Democratic filibuster in the upper chamber. So no, do not expect Democrats to cross the aisle and help out with this in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it'll likely be the complete opposite. Democrats trying to make this as painful as possible. And again, this underscores the quandary Speaker Johnson finds him in, the fact that he's grappling with such a small majority.
I want to get an update on executive actions from the Trump administration. Trump signed an order yesterday seeking to expand White House control of independent agencies. Let's take a listen to White House Staff Secretary Will Scharf.
This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the President or the Attorney General can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Now, this is surely going to face legal challenges, but tell us about these efforts by Trump and his allies to expand the power of the president.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the regulations part, Drew. Essentially, what this is saying is that regulations that are written by some of these independent agencies, I'm talking like the Security and Exchange Commission, Federal Trade Commission, Federal Communications Commission, those are now going to have to be submitted to the White House for review, which is sort of something that we don't typically see. Additionally, it calls for the Office of Management and Budget head, Russell Vought, to review agency spending to ensure that's in line with the president's priorities. So look, this all gets down to the idea that Trump is trying to make sure that there are no folks in the federal government who are against his priorities and against what he's trying to achieve. He's trying to consolidate sort of the power around him to make sure that his priorities are carried out. I suspect that this will come under some legal challenges, but we're going to have to see, how it pans out. But again, this just goes back to the fact that Trump is trying to make sure that he has supporters in the federal government to try to carry out his duties.
All right, Mychael Schnell, following all the latest from sunny Florida. We're all very jealous of you, but thanks so much for your insight.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank God first, you know what I'm saying? And I really want to thank the jury for making the right decision, and I'm just so thankful. This is crazy right now. That this whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, but I'm thankful. Nonetheless, I'm thankful, and we're blessed to be here right now, to be a free man talking to y'all. Thank you. All praise due to God.
Rapper and hip-hop performer A$AP Rocky has been found not guilty on 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. Watch as the rapper dove into the arms of his partner Rihanna as the verdict was read. A$AP Rocky was accused of pulling and firing a gun on his former friend A$AP Relly. The rapper has maintained his innocence, saying the gun was a prop from a music video and only shot blanks. The verdict wraps up a 3-week trial and comes 4 years since the altercation. If convicted, the rapper could have spent more than 2 decades in prison. Federal prosecutors have charged 7 men alleged to be members of a South American theft group in connection to the recent string of burglaries at the homes of pro athletes, including Kansas City Chiefs players Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. NewsNation's Hena Doba has the latest.
Federal prosecutors have charged 7 members of that alleged South American theft ring with targeting their homes. Kansas City Chiefs star Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, along with other professional athletes, were targeted. Now, the criminal complaint charges Pablo Cortez, Ignacio Cortez, Bastian Ferro, Jordan Sanchez, Bastian Morales, Alexander Chavez, and Sergio Cabello with conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property. All 7 of these men are from Chile. Now, the complaint includes this photo. Take a good look. It's of 4 individuals, including three of those charged, Pablo Cartez, Ignacio Cartez, and Bastian Ferro, posing around a safe and those watches that is believed to be that of a Milwaukee Bucks player whose home was burglarized in November of 2024. DOJ officials say the photo was taken shortly after the theft. Now, the men are accused of stealing valuables worth more than $2 million. If convicted, each faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in federal prison.
NewsNation's Hena Doba, thank you. A Georgia woman is suing a fertility clinic after she says the wrong embryo was implanted. Christina Murray became pregnant after undergoing in vitro fertilization at Coastal Fertility Specialist in Savannah, Georgia. Unaware, the error was made until she gave birth. Murray says she immediately realized the baby was not hers. She says she knew when she saw the baby was black, while Murray and her sperm donor are both white. The clinic confirmed the mistake, saying doctors had transferred another patient's embryo instead of her own.
Carrying a child who is not yours, unknowingly, loving them, creating a whole life for them, birthing them, knowing they're not yours, loving them anyway, and wanting them, I honestly would have just chosen not to become a mother.
Murray says after she reported the mistake to the clinic, staff tracked down the baby's biological parents who sued her for custody. Murray volunteered to give up the baby after determining she would likely not win a court custody battle. That's today's Daily Debrief. I'm Drew Petrimoulx. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Hills YouTube channel. And come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.